welcome back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. Thank you guys for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for your support. If you have not subscribed already, please, I would appreciate for you to subscribe. Just hit on the bell and then also hit on the subscribe button. Okay guys, so in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew this straight gown with an off shoulder elastic circle sleeve. So you can see the picture up there. That's actually what we are going to learn how to do today. If you find this video helpful, please hit on the like button, share this video with your friends and your colleagues. Okay guys, so let's just get started. Before we start, if you want to register for my online classes, you can just see my number scrolling through the screen. Send me a message on WhatsApp. Let's get started straight into the tutorial. Okay guys, so these are the fabrics I'm going to be using for this tutorial. So this is actually an Ankara fabric. So I have about 2 yards here, and then a satin. I have 1.5 yard of my satin. So these are the fabrics that I'm going to use. And then the measurement that I'm going to make use of, the bust is 32 inches. The under bust is 28, and then the waist is 30. So this is the bust line, the under bust and the waist. So as I go along, I will install the measurements. So I have some lines on my pattern paper already, which I'm going to explain. So for this, we're going to be using 5 inches to drop our off shoulder. So if you have been following me, dropping your off shoulder, because it is an off shoulder, you need to take out some inches from your actual bodies. So we're using 5 inches. So it depends on how deep you want. That is what you can use 6, you can use 7. So let's use 5 for this. And then the next point, so this line will now serve as our shoulder line. So the next line we have here on the pattern paper is our bust point line. So from the shoulder to the bust point. So this is bust point. And then which I'm using 10 inches. And then my under bust, from the shoulder to the under bust, is 13 inches. And then the next measurement I have is my half cut. That's where the top bodice is going to reach, which is 17 inches. Okay, so the next thing now we're going to draft. So for this pattern, I decided to use an off shoulder bustier pattern for this tutorial. So it is a very simple process. So the next thing we're going to do now, let's measure out the shoulder that we're going to be using for this pattern. So the shoulder measurement that I'm going to use is 14 inches. So normally I'm supposed to take out 1 inch for allowance, but because it is an off shoulder, to make it tight, but I'm not going to take out that 1 inch because I'm not going to add any allowance to it. So I'll just use it like that. So at the end of the day, after cutting it, I will cut and trim that off, and then it will balance properly. So I'll mark 7 inches here like this. And then from this 7 inches, remember my 6 inches, I'm going to take out my armhole measurement. So for the armhole measurement I'm using is 15. So 15 divided by 2, I'm going to have 7.5. So I'll mark the 7.5 here. And then I'm going to connect with a straight ruler and then create like an armhole curve for this. So I'm just going to create, which is really not going to be necessary at the end of the day though. So I've marked it that way. So the next thing, I'm going to take out my dart. So for the dart, I'll mark the dart up to my bust point. So for the dart, I'm using half of my bust pan measurement, which is one nipple to another. So for this, it's actually 8 inches. I'll divide that into 2. I'll have 4 inches. So I'll mark that 4 inches across all these lines, these 3 lines. And then I'll connect it with a straight ruler like this. Just join all the lines together. And then the next thing now, I'm going to try to get my dart. So in getting my dart, what I will do, I'll just check on this point here. I want to get the center of this. So after getting the center, here's what I'm going to do. So I'm just trying to curve it in nicely like this. Okay. So after curving it nicely, I'm going to come to this part. So my dart, I'll take out all of the dart from one side. So for the dart, I'll take out 2 inches dart because it is a small size. A bigger size, I'll use 2.5. So I'll mark it here. And then that point, I'm just trying to use dotted lines so it fits in properly so you can see it. The next thing, I'm going to come to the down part of my pattern, and then I'll mark the same 2 inches here. And then I'll just use dotted line. I'm just trying to eyeball it before I do my final ruling, which is okay. So I'll mark this, and then I'll go and highlight my lines properly. Okay, so you can see what you have. So make sure you don't have pointed edges. So the next measurement we're going to take out is our full body measurement. So my bust is 32. So that 32, I'll divide it into 4. So I'll mark 8 inches here. And then I'm going to add allowance to my pattern. So I'll add as much as 3 inches allowance. So you can actually add allowance however you want. So the next thing is the under bust, like I said, which is 28. So I'm going to come to this point. 28 divided by 4, I'm going to have 7 inches. So here's my 7 inches. Remember, we took out 2 inches for allowance. So I'll bring that 2 inches back into my pattern. That's for that. And then I'm going to add another 2 inches allowance to this. So the next thing, I'm going to come to my waist measurement, which is 30. 30 divided by 4, I'm going to have 7.5. I'll mark it here, and then my 2 inches, I'll bring that back into my pattern. And then on this down part also, I'm going to add as much as 3 inches. So if you notice my allowance, on the bust I added 3 inches. On the under bust I used 2 inches, and then on this part I used 3 inches. So when it comes to allowance in sewing, it is optional. Always like adding so much allowance on my pattern. So the next thing, we're going to mark out our neckline. So for the neckline, remember we used 5 inches. So the next thing depends on how deep I want my neckline to be. So for this, I'm going to go as much as 7.5 inches or 7 inches, depends on how deep. So I'll do 7 inches. So this is 7 inches. So I'm just trying to mark it because it is like a sweetheart neckline. So I'll mark that one. So here's what I'll do. I'll use my pattern curve like this. Okay, let me just explain it so you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to connect it like a down flip. Okay, so I'll connect it into that armhole area. So that's all for our pattern. So for the back, I'm going to cut this out first. I'll cut it out, and then I'll use the pattern to cut out the back. I'll show you how to go about that. So I just need the body frame to cut out the back. So I'll cut out the back first before cutting out the front. So I added zip allowance to it. So we're still going to work on this pattern. I just want to have the frame first. We'll work on it. Okay, so I'll keep it on the side, and then we're going to cut this out right now. So before we cut this out, so here's how we're going to cut this. So you can see how simple and easy this is. So the next thing, I'm going to transfer to my fabric right now. Okay, so guys, you can see I finished cutting them. So for the back, I'm just going to add my dart now to my back pattern. So from this point, I'll just curve it in like that, and then cut them all out. I'll take it back to my machine, and then I'll start stitching them. So I'll just stitch them. I'll start from the down, and then stitch it, and then stitch this back, open up the zip part, and then we'll come back and cut out the skirt part. Okay, so you can see, so for the back neckline, I'm just going to use a normal straight neckline for the back. So I'm just connecting it to that armhole point, and then just reduce it more. And then I'll open my zip allowance part like this. So the next thing now, so I'm going to cut the line in the same way, and then I'm going to place them so you can see. I'm actually not padding this blouse, so I'll show you how to join it. It's a very simple process if you are doing an inseam. So it's going to stay like this. Okay, and then join, and then you take the other piece like this also, leave the zip allowance part, and then join. So we are going to have this like this. So the next thing now, I'm going to do that, join it, and then we'll cut out the skirt and join it together. You have to join everything together first. Okay guys, so you can see I finished stitching. So this is the lining. So like I said, I'm doing an inseam for the top part. So I'm just going to place it and then sew it all around. So that's for that. The next thing now, we're going to cut out the skirt. So for the skirt, I'll just use a basic skirt pattern to cut it. That's the basic straight skirt. So I'll do that right now and then show you how to join it to it. Okay guys, so you can see I finished cutting out the back piece. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to join it. So I'm going to join it the same way I did the front, since we are doing an inseam. So I'm going to join the side. I'm going to join them together on the side like this. So I'll join the hip lines together and then join the hip together. So I'm going to be left with just the zip allowance part. So I'll do that right now. Okay guys, so I finished stitching the skirt. So I joined it on the side also. So this is how I'm going to join them together. I'm going to take it together like this, and then I'm going to join it, and then the skirt lining also, I'm going to now use the skirt lining. I'll stitch this the skirt lining. I'll join the skirt lining to the line, to this line part also, and then I'll place it like this, and then I'll stitch everything. I'll stitch it round and then drop it. So I'll do that and then iron it, close it on the zip allowance part, iron it, and then bring it back for us to cut out the sleeves. Okay guys, so I finished joining it together. So I've turned it with my lining. So I've just my armhole. So I stitch around and then left the armhole area because I'm going to stitch a sleeve there. So the next thing now, we're going to cut out our sleeve. So just watch what I'm going to do. We're cutting out a circle sleeve, but if you notice, it is not a very full circle sleeve. So with that, I'm not going to use a 360 flare. I'll use 180-degree flare to cut out the circle. Okay, so you can see how I'm folding it. I'll fold it like this. I folded it into two, and then I'm going to fold it like this at an angle. So I hope you just note. So the next thing I'm going to do now, my armhole, that's my round sleeve measurement, is actually 10 inches. That's from this point like this. That's from the back shoulder to the front shoulder. It's 10 inches. So since my fabric is folded into four, since I'm going to add an elastic to it, I'm not going to use 10 inches. So I need extra allowance, okay? So here is how I'm going to do that. So this, you can actually do it how you want, depends on how full. So at the end of the day, I'm cutting 16 inches instead of 10. So you can see I have 4 inches and my fabric is folded into four. Okay. So I've marked the roundness. So the next thing now, I'm going to mark the length. So my own, I'm not doing double sleeve. I don't have enough satin. I'm going to do just one circle. I'll not double it. So it's still the same process. So for the down part, I'm going to use about 10 inches. So I'll mark the 10 inches like that. So I'll just mark it round. So just watch what I'm doing. And then I'll cut it out first. But if you want it to be very full, you can do a 360-degree flip. So it will be very full. Okay. So I'll cut out this part like this now. So I've not added my armhole. So I'm going to open it so you can see that it's looking like what we have, right? If I use 360 to be very full. So I'm going to take this part now. This part is the part I'm going to add my armhole. And it is a very simple way to do this. I'm just going to take the edge of my armhole and then I'll place it here like this. After placing it here, I'm going to cut it. I'm always looking for my chalk. So I'm trying to carve in the armhole part because this part is going to be stitched down and then this part is stitched close. Okay, so I've marked that part on it. It is a simple process. So I'll put that on the side and then I'll cut this now. So this is the armhole. I've cut it open. So mine, I'm not going to line my own. I'm going to use an overlock seam to serge the edges. So the next thing, I cut out strap. So with this strap that we're going to use to sew it, and then an elastic. So you can see my elastic. This elastic is not very stretchy, and that's just the only one that I have for now. So you can see my elastic. So I use my elastic, the edge, that's 10 inches of my sleeve. That's what I'm using. So I'll take this now, and then we'll go over to the machine. So this is the wrong side of my satin, and then this is the right side of the strap. So I'm going to stitch this around first. So I'll stitch it like this on the edge. So for the strap, depends on how wide you want it to be. So what I have here is about 3 inches. It's a little bit big. Okay, so after stitching, this is what we will have. So I'm turning it to the right side so we can see it. So you can see it on the right side. So I'm going to take my straps now. Now that's my elastic. And then I'm going to sew it. I'm just going to sew it on this edge like this. Just watch what I'm doing. So I'm just trying to secure it. That's just what I'm trying to do. I'll secure it on one side, and then I'm just going to take it. I'm bringing it back to this side also to secure it down also. You have to secure it very well so it doesn't, when you are pulling it, it doesn't pull out. So the next thing, I'm going to start stitching this down. I just want you to watch and see. So I'm going to take this strap like this, and then I'm going to fold it. So it depends, you can fold it however. Or whatever you do, make sure when you're stitching it, you use a top stitch with a matching thread. Don't stitch on the elastic. So don't stitch on the elastic. So I'm doing this now on the right side, but I'm not going to stitch on the elastic. So the elastic is inside. So I'll do that and then finish it up. And then you see the outlook. After stitching, so you can see how our sleeve looks like. So I'm going to trim it up now, and then I'll show you how to fix it on the dress. Okay guys, so you can see our sleeve. So I finished stitching. So if you want to add a lining to it, still follow through the same whole process like this. Just sew and turn, and then do this part like this. So this is my armhole area where I'm going to fix my sleeve now. So I'm going to show you. So you see this part, I'll just deepen it a little bit more, and then here's how I'm going to fix it. So this part now, this round part is going to sit here like this. So it's going to sit here like this, so you can see my shoulder, and then I'll do the same thing to the other one. And then this part, I'm going to join this part just the same way you join your normal sleeve together. That's this part. So this is standing here. This will start stitching from here down to this point, and then close up this point. So I'll do that, and then I'll do the second sleeve, and then I'll place it on the mannequin for you to see how it looks. Okay guys, so at the end of the day, you can see this is the finished dress. So you can see it on the mannequin, our straight gown with off shoulder elastic circle sleeve. So you can see it actually came out fine. Yes, it did came out fine. The only difference is that mine, I did not double the sleeve because I don't have enough fabric for that. So thank you so much. If you find this video helpful, please hit on the like button, and if you have not subscribed, subscribe to my channel, share the video, give it a thumbs up,